All right, it's about time I did a Ukraine update. It's been a while since I posted on this. You can see some of these articles are dated, but I had them saved. So the first couple are about a chemical attack that Kiev used on the airport. It's just a generic picture of the battle there. You can see after the shells burst, the pungent cloud of gas spread across the old terminal, violating the Geneva Conventions. And then the next day, it came out that what that was a phosphorus bomb. And here I think it says that they used it 15 times. I know Deflategate's going on right now, or shrinkage, as some call it. But this is obviously the most important story in the world, in my opinion. And despite their use of these chemical weapons that are banned, they failed to retake the airport. And you can see here the bridge collapsed. And in one of the articles coming up, there's a video of that from a different angle. You can actually see the bridge getting hit and falling down. But even with this, the Ukrainian troops surrendered the airport. They left because they were just getting beaten down by the, quote, rebels. I like to call them freedom fighters. But I'm of the opinion, and I have videos posted on this about a month ago, that I think this is going to end with a false flag nuclear attack. Hopefully I'm wrong on this, but I see it going the way. Everything that insider said is coming true. The quiet before the storm is over, and now here we are. So the quiet before the storm, like I said, is over, and now 50 attacks in one day, including a 500-kilogram air bomb. It was not targeted. They just dropped it right over the city, right over the town. More than 30 people, women, children were included in the airstrike. It's not a targeted attack. Kiev's just attacking everybody. And part of the Western propaganda, this guy's saying that there's 9,000 Russian troops, tanks, weapons inside Ukraine. But he didn't provide one piece of evidence in Davos. He just got up there and started speaking. If this is not aggression, what is aggression? Any proof? Do you have any proof whatsoever? No. You're just standing up there sprouting this out of your ass. And then they start talking about that I'm going to say it wrong. Volnovaka. No. The bus that got hit by a rocket attack they're saying was the rebels. It wasn't. False flag. Now, these next two stories are interesting. How Ukraine is out of money. Saying here, the video shows a military cemetery being dug in Ukraine. Hundreds of empty holes waiting for bodies, and the graves were dug all at once, expecting an influx of bodies. The airport battle is over, like we saw before. The most elite units were sent out of the terminal, but none of this matters, really, because the Ukraine is broke, essentially. So this is why it needs to be escalated farther and farther. The exchange rate went from 8 to 16, basically doubled. Like I said, everything is double what it was a year ago. Ukraine's bankrupt. In 5 weeks, it's out of money. And at the same time, Ukraine has stiffed China. They owe them $3 billion that they defaulted on, and another 3.6 that they're going to default on. Sorry about this ad here. So China prepaid for grain, $3 billion in cash, and Ukraine doesn't have the grain, and they don't have the money because the U.S. stole it. And you can see what's going on here. We came in, looted all their money. All the people, the 100,000 people that are being drafted, are farmers. Most of they're civilians, so they can't grow new grain to give to China to pay back. There's nobody to plant. There's nobody to harvest. Nobody to run the machines because they're all being drafted into the military to fight this ground war that they're going to be launching against Russia. And then here, the International Monetary Fund, Ukraine just applied for a new loan because, like I said, they're out of money. And then Poroshenko has vowed to retake the East. And he's not going to be deterred by all of this. And it's just crappy propaganda on this article. But again, it needs to be... Ukraine wouldn't give an inch to its land to Russian-backed separatists. No. No. You're Western-backed terrorists. Those are people who live in that area. Sorry. Funny. This is funny. The Russian embassy posted this picture as the strongest proof yet that Ukraine has provided that Russia has invaded. Little toy tanks and trucks. And they also said, this was that picture that was proven false from before, that they said from August that Ukraine provided as proof. And then Canada can't get its stupid nose out of everybody else's business. So they posted this tweet: geography can be tough. Here's a guide for Russian soldiers who keep accidentally getting lost by entering Ukraine, Russia and not Russia. So then Russia comes back and posts an actual picture of what life is like in reality on this planet. Russia controlling Crimea, actual, real things. And then Poroshenko rejects Putin's peace plan. Massive shelling ensues, saying that it's all Russian propaganda. They don't want peace. And here's that video of the bridge coming down, artillery fire, just overnight shelling. And the Ukrainian president signing up a draft for 500,000 people, saying it won't be implemented until it's voted on. And when it was voted on, it was increased to 100,000. So it's even worse than this article says. And then I just had to put in a piece of pure Western propaganda. So the draft is there to counter Russian attacks. Russian troops, full-scale attacks advanced by the rebels. Now they're calling for a full-scale continental war, saying that because of the Russian aggression, all of Europe now, at least Eastern Europe, is going to be in this continental war. So they're calling for a ground war with 100,000 troops that, by the way, they're only training for a week to 2 weeks, and then they're sending them right to the battlefield. So you can see they're just basically going to be there to die. And finally, this is a good article. I suggest reading this one. I can only obviously skim it here. And it's translated. This English is not this guy's first language, obviously. But, if you want to pause it and read it, that's fine. American masters of the incumbent Kiev rulers need to eliminate the buffer zone, that is Donbass and Novorossiya, by any means, fair or foul, to turn it into a springboard for destabilizing Russia. The Kiev government, with Washington's support, wants to launch a full-scale war in the center of Europe. And the mobilization, the 100,000 people, means they're preparing for war. He's playing out the scenario which that insider had said a month ago. All of this is coming to pass, and it's going to end, or really start, one of the two, with a false flag nuclear weapon going off. And then this talks about the Committee for Refugees is saying how everyone captured by Ukraine, by Kiev, is being tortured. They're having their teeth ripped out. This hot powder is being sprinkled on their genitals, branded with a hot iron. I mean, all of the Nazi torture techniques that America has used recently, that the Nazis used back then, is being used again in Ukraine. Obviously, nobody's going to report on that. Nobody in the Western media, anyway. Washington's dirty hands manipulating what's ongoing, using Ukraine as a pretext. Russia is the real target. Regime change in Russia is the objective. The ammunition situation on the front lines is poor. It's almost exhausted. New cannon fodder, like I said. Again, read this whole thing. Like I said, I'm just trying to go through it quickly, but we all know what's going on here. Kiev forces are carrying out provocations. Donetsk was bombarded. They don't want to end things, even if it means doing it. They don't want to negotiate. They just want to attack because, like I said, they're broke. And the Americans and the Western people who are backing them need this war to destabilize Russia, saying that Russia's the aggressors. All the while they're using chemical weapons, shelling their own civilians. They don't care. They just want to draw Russia into this war, and Putin knows what's going on, and he's probably not going to go in, but if they detonate a nuclear weapon saying he did it, what then? all of NATO, the U.S., everyone on the propaganda arm is they're gonna want to attack Russia really bad. And Putin comes out and says he doesn't do it. What's that mean? He's saying he's not invading now, and the lies are out there that he is, repeated over and over again by the media. So, people like us that are awake and aware are going to know what's actually happening, but as we see in France, we're such a small majority. Most of the people are just mindless and do whatever the media tells them. So that's why I'm trying to get this word out. All of this stuff is propagated by the West. It's all being pulled off by the West and their master plan.